If someone had told me at 77 years old that I would learn some of the most powerful lessons of my life inside a nursing home, I probably would have smiled politely and shaken my head. I thought I had seen it all. I believed that, at this age, life had already taught me everything it could, but I was wrong. 2 months. Just 2 months in that place, surrounded by strangers, by silence, and by stories older than time, changed me in ways I never expected. I went there to recover, physically. But what I did not know was that I would walk out with a different kind of healing. A healing of the heart. A shift in how I see time, relationships, regrets, and what it truly means to live. You see, when you sit in a room full of people at the edge of their lives, you start to hear things differently. You start to see what matters. And more importantly, you begin to realize what does not. I met men and women who had lost everything. Some who had nothing left but their memories. Some who were still holding on to pain from 50 years ago. And some who had found peace in the simplest of things. In those quiet conversations, those long nights of reflection, I discovered 7 truths that I wish I had learned earlier, much earlier. And today, I want to share them with you. But instead of starting at the beginning, I want to begin at the end, because sometimes it is the final lessons, the ones we learn last, that leave the deepest mark. So whether you are 70 or 60 or 35 or just beginning to wonder about the meaning of your time here on this earth, I invite you to sit with me for a moment. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about what truly matters. Let's talk about what I wish I had known before it was almost too late. Lesson 1. Every day is a gift. Do not waste it. I remember the morning it happened. It was early. The sun had not even fully risen yet. A nurse came in, gently closed the curtain, and whispered, "He passed away in his sleep." She was talking about a man I had dinner with just the night before. He was telling stories. We laughed. He teased me about the coffee being too weak. He said, "Life's funny, isn't it?" And then he smiled. And just like that, he was gone. No warning, no final words, no chance to say goodbye. That moment shook me in a way I cannot explain, because I realized something we all know, but we never really feel, that tomorrow is never promised. We say it all the time, don't we? Life is short. But most of us don't live like we believe it. We wait, we postpone. We tell ourselves we'll take that trip next year, we'll call our daughter this weekend, we'll fix that broken relationship someday. But someday isn't on the calendar. I wasted years thinking I had more time to forgive, more time to love, more time to live. But time? It is the one thing you never get back. If I could go back, I wouldn't wait to enjoy life. I wouldn't wait to say, "I'm proud of you." I wouldn't wait to say, "I love you." I wouldn't wait to be happy. So I'm telling you now, as clearly as I can, every day is a gift, even the ordinary ones, especially the ordinary ones. Waking up without pain, seeing the sky change color at sunset, hearing your grandchild laugh, drinking a warm cup of coffee slowly, with both hands. That is life. That is the miracle. So if you are breathing today, if your heart is still beating, then you have been given something priceless. Do not waste it. Call the person you've been meaning to call. Take that walk. Say what you need to say. Smile at someone you love, because one day it will be your last chance. And when that moment comes, the only thing you'll wish for is one more ordinary day. Lesson 2. Forgiveness brings peace. There was a woman down the hall, 82 years old, sharp mind, soft voice, eyes that held too much. She kept to herself mostly, but one afternoon, as we sat by the window watching the rain, she turned to me and said, "I haven't spoken to my sister in over 40 years. I didn't say anything. I just listened. She looked down at her hands and said, "She passed away last year. I never called. I never wrote. I thought I had time." And then she whispered something I'll never forget. I thought the silence would punish her, but it only punished me. You could feel the regret in her voice, like a weight that never left her shoulders. That's when I realized, forgiveness is not about saying the other person was right. It's about not letting pain write the rest of your story. I used to hold on to things too. Old arguments, moments where I felt betrayed or misunderstood, people who hurt me and never apologized. But inside that nursing home, surrounded by people carrying decades of anger, I saw what it does to you. Bitterness does not protect you. It poisons you. I met a man who hadn't spoken to his son in 12 years, and every day he stared at the door, hoping he would walk through it, but the door stayed closed, and so did his heart. When you carry old wounds too long, they don't stay wounds. They become walls. Walls between you and peace. Walls between you and the people you still love, even if you're too proud to admit it. One night, I sat alone and thought about all the people I needed to forgive, and all the people I hoped would forgive me. And I let it go. Not for them, for me. Because I didn't want to die with a heavy heart. I wanted to feel light, free, at peace. So if there's someone you're thinking about right now, someone who hurt you, disappointed you, or simply drifted away, don't wait. Write the letter. Make the call. Say, "I'm sorry," or say, "I forgive you." Even if they never say it back. Because forgiveness is not a gift you give them. It's a gift you give yourself. And peace. Peace is worth far more than pride. Lesson 3. True happiness comes from simple things. There was a woman named Mary who lived just 2 doors down from me, 85 years old, small in stature, but with a presence that filled the hallway. Every morning, and I mean every single morning, at exactly 7 o'clock, she would sit by her window, a soft, knitted blanket across her lap, a cup of chamomile tea in her hands, and hum the same gentle melody. Not a care in the world on her face, just peace. One morning, I asked her, "Mary, how do you do it? How do you stay so content, so joyful?" She smiled at me, as if the answer was the simplest thing in the world, and said, "I stopped looking for happiness in what I lost. I found it in what I still have." That moment, that sentence, hit me harder than I expected, because for most of my life, I'd done the opposite. I spent decades chasing success. I thought happiness came from progress, from hitting goals, reaching milestones, buying things, achieving things. A bigger house, a newer car, more money, more respect, more recognition. And don't get me wrong, I was proud of those things at the time. But sitting there, in a quiet little room with only a few belongings to my name, I realized none of that brought lasting joy. None of it could comfort me when I was lonely. None of it kept me company when the nights felt long. None of it made me laugh like the way Mary's simple humming did. I watched her take joy in the steam rising from her teacup, in the warmth of a knitted sweater, in a good song on the radio, in watching birds land on the fence outside the window. And it made me wonder, how much happiness had I missed because I was waiting for life to be big enough to enjoy? We live in a world that tells us we need more to be happy, more things, more experiences, more success. But I've learned the opposite is true. Sometimes less is exactly what we need, because it lets us finally see what was always there: the sound of laughter down the hallway, the smell of dinner cooking in the kitchen, the feeling of being remembered by someone, even if just through a phone call. That's where real happiness lives. Not in the future, not in the past, but right here, in this exact moment, if you let it be enough. Mary taught me that happiness doesn't show up with a parade. It shows up quietly, gently, in soft blankets, warm tea, and a heart that's open to the moment. So now, when I wake up in the morning, I take a deep breath. I look out the window, and I thank life, not for being perfect, but for still being mine. Because true happiness has never been in what we own. It's always been in what we notice. And if you start noticing now, you'll realize you've been surrounded by joy all along. Lesson 4. Independence is precious. There's something you don't truly understand until the day you lose it. I'm talking about independence. When you're young, or even just still capable, it's easy to take it for granted. You walk across the room without thinking. You get up in the middle of the night for a glass of water. You dress yourself. You choose what to eat, where to go, when to sleep. It all feels so natural, like breathing. So normal, you forget it's a privilege. But inside that nursing home, I met people who hadn't been able to do those simple things in years. People who needed help just to stand. People who had to press a button and wait for someone to come help them use the bathroom. And let me tell you something. It wasn't just frustrating for them. It was heartbreaking. There's a kind of quiet sorrow in having to ask for help to do the things you used to do without thinking. A kind of grief that doesn't come from loss of things, but from loss of self. One man, Harold, used to be a high school basketball coach. Tall, strong, proud. He showed me an old photo of himself once, arms crossed, whistle around his neck, standing tall in the center of a gymnasium. Now, he needed help getting out of bed. He told me, the hardest part isn't needing the help. It's remembering the man I used to be. And that stuck with me. Because most of us don't realize how much of our identity is tied to our independence, our ability to make choices, to move through the world on our own terms. We don't think about how precious it is until it slips away. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it to wake you up. If you can still walk without help, if you can still cook your own meals, if you can still drive to the store or tie your shoes or stand under a hot shower and feel the water run down your back, you are more blessed than you know. Don't let that go unnoticed. Take care of your body, not for vanity, but for freedom. Take care of your mind, not just to be sharp, but to stay independent. And most of all, appreciate the little freedoms you still have, because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you could ever imagine. We spend so much of life chasing things, money, status, comfort. But independence? That's the quiet treasure most people don't think about until it's too late. So today, move your body with gratitude, make your own choices with pride, and never forget, independence is one of life's greatest gifts. Hold it gently and never take it for granted. Lesson 5. Material things lose their meaning. When I was younger, I worked hard. I came from very little, so I told myself I would build a life filled with everything I never had. And I did. I bought the house with the big yard. I filled it with beautiful furniture, cherry wood tables, thick rugs, leather chairs that smelled like money. I had closets full of clothes I barely wore, a garage with more tools than I could ever use, boxes of things I swore I needed, tucked into attics, sheds, and storage units. It felt good, like success, like proof that I had made something of myself. But now I live in a small room, just big enough for a bed, a nightstand, and a chair. My whole life, condensed into a few drawers and 2 shelves. The rest, gone. Given away. Forgotten. And you know what? I don't miss any of it. Not the suits, not the fancy dishes, not the gadgets, or the pictures I once thought I couldn't part with. The truth is, I've come to understand something we all eventually face. The things we spend our lives collecting won't follow us when we go. I've met people in that nursing home who were once very wealthy. They had estates, trust funds, entire rooms in their homes they never walked into. And now, just like me, they live in a room the size of a motel. And not one of them talks about the stuff they left behind. They talk about people. They talk about moments. They talk about what they felt, not what they owned. I think we confuse comfort with meaning. We chase the next new thing, the next upgrade, the next possession, hoping it'll fill some kind of hole. But the hole is never in the house or the closet or the car. It's in the heart. And only love, connection, and memory can fill that. If I could speak to my younger self, I'd tell him to slow down, to stop buying and start living, to spend less on things and more on experiences, to take more photos with family and fewer photos of stuff I would forget, to fill my home with laughter, not just our furniture. Because at the end of it all, when the doors close and the visitors leave, and you're left alone with your thoughts, you'll find yourself asking questions like, did I make people feel loved? Did I create something meaningful? Will they remember me for who I was or just what I had? You see, the older you get, the more clearly you realize that almost everything you thought mattered doesn't. And the few things you overlooked, those are the things that truly do. So if you're still filling up your life with things, I ask you, are you leaving room for what really matters? Because one day, like me, you might find yourself in a quiet room, surrounded by very little, and you'll realize you never needed much at all. You just needed love, and time, and people who made your days feel full, not your shelves. Material things lose their meaning, but the people we love and the memories we create with them, those stay with us forever. Lesson 6. Health is more valuable than wealth. He was one of the first people I met when I arrived at the nursing home. His name was Robert. Elegant, polite, the kind of man who always wore a wristwatch and never let a meal go by without saying, please and thank you. You could tell by the way he spoke that he had once been somebody important, and he had. Robert used to be a businessman, a real one. He ran multiple companies, owned properties across the state, traveled to Europe every year, played golf at exclusive clubs, and drove cars that I had only seen in magazines. He had everything most people spend their entire lives chasing. But now he couldn't hold a fork without help. He needed assistance getting dressed, couldn't walk without a wheelchair, and most days he struggled just to speak without losing his breath. One afternoon, we sat near the window together, and I asked him gently, do you ever miss it? The lifestyle? The travel? He looked at me, and I'll never forget this. He said, not the lifestyle. I miss having a strong body. I'd give it all back, every dollar, just to walk to the bathroom on my own. And in that single sentence, I learned more than any book or sermon ever taught me. Because the truth is, most of us chase wealth like it's the end goal. We work ourselves to exhaustion, save, invest, sacrifice sleep, family, sometimes even our health, just for the security, the success, the comfort. And don't get me wrong, money matters. It can make life easier, give you choices, create safety. But once your body begins to fail, money can't reverse it. It can't buy you back your energy. It can't give you a second pair of healthy lungs. It can't protect your heart from weakening, or your knees from aching, or your hands from trembling. I met people in that home who were rich in dollars, but bankrupt in strength. And I met others who didn't have much at all, but they could still move, still smile, still walk outside on a sunny day and feel the breeze on their face. And I can tell you honestly, I envied them more. Because there comes a time when your world gets smaller. When you're no longer thinking about how much money is in the bank. You're thinking about whether you can get out of bed without help. I used to skip sleep, skip meals, skip moments with my kids, all in the name of building a future. But what kind of future is it if your body can't carry you into it? If I could go back, I would treat my health like the treasure it is. I would move more, eat better, worry less, I would listen to what my body was whispering to me before it started screaming. So if you're still able to walk, to stretch, to lift your arms, to dance a little in the kitchen while the coffee brews, please, please don't take that for granted. Because wealth may open doors, but health lets you walk through them. Take care of yourself. Not later. Now. Because nothing you build will matter if you're too broken to enjoy it. Health is more valuable than wealth, and once it's gone, no amount of money can bring it back. Lesson 7. Loneliness is the greatest disease. I've seen what loneliness does to a person. Not the kind of loneliness that comes from spending a quiet afternoon alone. No, I'm talking about the kind of loneliness that sinks into the bones. The kind that makes the walls feel like they're closing in. The kind that lingers for days, weeks, years. And it doesn't always come from being physically alone. It comes from being forgotten. Inside that nursing home, I met people who hadn't had a single visitor in months, some in years. One man, James, told me he hadn't seen his daughter since his 75th birthday. He was now 87. His voice didn't tremble when he told me, but his eyes did. There was a woman who stared at the door every Sunday at 2 o'clock, because once, years ago, her son had promised he'd visit after church. She waited every week, wearing the same sweater. She'd fix her hair and sit by the window, just in case. He never came. And what broke my heart the most was how polite they were. They didn't complain. They didn't shout. They just waited. Waited for a phone call. Waited for a letter. Waited for someone to remember that they were still here, still alive. And that's when it hit me. The worst part of growing old isn't the pain. It's not the medication. It's not the limitations. It's feeling like the world has moved on without you. You can give someone food, a clean bed, even great medical care. But if they feel invisible, if they feel forgotten, no medicine in the world can cure that. Loneliness doesn't show up on an X-ray. It doesn't get written in the charts. But I saw its symptoms every day. Eyes that lost their spark. Shoulders that curved inward. People who used to sing, now sitting in silence. Appetites fading. Spirits dimming. And here's the truth nobody likes to say out loud. Loneliness kills. Not in a dramatic, sudden way, but slowly, quietly. It takes away a person's will to fight, to hope, to even get out of bed. I spent so much of my life thinking that if I worked hard, provided well, and stayed independent, that would be enough. But I look back now and see all the times I chose work over connection. The calls I didn't return, the holidays I rushed through, the friends I let drift away. And if I'm honest with you, those are my real regrets. Because no matter how strong we think we are, no matter how much pride we carry, we were not built to live this life alone. We need to be seen, to be heard, to be remembered. If you're lucky enough to have people in your life, call them, show up, write the letter, send the photo, visit your parents, even if they say they're fine, invite that old friend to lunch, reconnect with your siblings, even if the last conversation was awkward. Because one day, either you or they will be gone, and all that will be left is silence or stories. I once thought loneliness was just something that happened to people who didn't try hard enough to stay connected, but now I know better. Sometimes, all it takes to save someone is to remember them, to ask how they're doing, to say, "You still matter. I see you. I hear you. I haven't forgotten." Because what I've learned, the deepest truth I can offer you, is this. Loneliness is not a side effect of old age. It's a symptom of a world moving too fast, and healing it starts with us. So let this be the reminder you didn't know you needed. Don't wait. Don't assume. Make the call. Send the message. Knock on the door. And if you're the one feeling forgotten, don't be afraid to reach out. Ask for company. Ask for conversation. Ask to be remembered. Because at the end of life, the one thing we all need, more than medicine, more than money, is simple. To feel that we were loved, that we mattered, that we were never truly alone. What these lessons really mean. 2 months. That's all it took. 2 months in a nursing home to see life not as I had imagined it, but as it truly is. Those walls held more wisdom than 100 books. They held pain, yes, but also truth. They held silence, but also stories. And they taught me, in the clearest, most honest way possible, what actually matters in the time we have left. We chase so many things in life: wealth, status, comfort. We fill our homes with things. We fill our calendars with appointments. We fill our minds with worries that will never come true. But in the end, none of that stays with us. What stays are the choices we make in the quiet moments. What stays are the hands we held, the laughter we shared, the forgiveness we gave, the memories we created when no one was watching. I used to fear aging. I thought growing old meant losing things, losing strength, losing time, losing freedom. And yes, some of that is true. But what I've learned is this: aging doesn't just take things away. It gives us something too. It gives us clarity. It gives us truth. It gives us a chance to see life, stripped of distractions, in its purest form. You begin to understand what's real and what's noise. You begin to feel the value of each moment, each breath, each voice on the other end of the phone. You stop trying to prove yourself and start trying to be yourself. So if you're still in the middle of life, busy, distracted, always looking ahead, I hope you'll pause. Take these 7 lessons not as warnings, but as gifts. Let them guide you gently, not scare you. Let them help you live now, not later. And if you're already in your older years, if your hair is gray and your hands are slower, I want you to know something. It's not too late. It's never too late. Not too late to forgive. Not too late to love. Not too late to laugh. Not too late to remember who you are and who you still can be. Because in the end, life is not measured in years. It's measured in moments. And the quality of those moments is shaped by the love you give, the peace you find, and the people you choose to walk beside you, even if only for a little while. So make memories, not excuses. Say what needs to be said. Feel what needs to be felt. And above all else, never take a single day for granted. Not one. Thank you for sitting with me, for listening, for being here. If this meant something to you, then maybe, just maybe, it's not too late to make it mean something to someone else.